What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with a very brief statement before the start of this video. And anyway, guys, as of September 1st, my book, Ghosts and Mysteries of Bradley County, Tennessee, has hit Amazon shelves, or Kindle shelves. I'm not sure exactly what. Anyway, long story short, Kindle, Amazon, Kindle, they're all owned by the same people. Anyway, you guys, I'm super excited. This is my very first self-published book. And anyway, I thought, I would just share it with you guys. You can find the link to this book in the description box below. If you've ever wanted to find a way to support the channel or support my adventures to keep this boat afloat, well, this is a perfect idea. You can give it as a gift to a friend, a family member, or just a book to share around the campfire for this fall season. Because as you all know, haunt season is upon us. It's my favorite time of year, my favorite filming time of year, and you know what? This book is awesome as well. But anyway, guys, I'm going to let the cameras roll. This was a fun vlog to make. It's a really good one, so let those cameras roll now.
One of the oldest buildings in Scott County sat vacant for more than a decade. The historic Scott County Jail closed its doors to prisoners in 2008, but the new owners of the building say the building is still very much alive. 10 News reporter Caitlin Keenahan is inside the historic jail, which is now open to the public. I'm a little concerned for you. I saw you making that one phone call a little earlier.
I know, I've spent part of the afternoon in this jail already, and I've got to tell you, it's one of the coolest places I've been in Scott County. It is so awesome in here. I want to introduce you to Miranda Young. She helped reopen this jail to the public, so big deal. Can you just tell me a little bit about the rich history that this jail provides to Scott County?
Absolutely. So the jail was opened in 1904 and in operation until 2008. And so it remained closed from 2008 until 2021 when we opened it as a true crime museum as well as a paranormal research center.
Amazing. And there's one case in particular that's so notorious here. Can you just tell me a little bit about Sheriff Richard Ellis?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of stories that we highlight here at the jail, but Sheriff Richard Ellis is one that we tell every time the doors are open. He was elected sheriff in 1924, and in 1925, he was actually killed right outside the front door. He was a Baptist preacher, and he was known to, he wanted to abolish moonshine in the area and make Scott County as dry as the Sahara. So he had been warned that if he went through with that he could potentially have his life in danger. So the moonshiners made good on that. He was shot at the front door, and essentially he's one of the spirits that still hangs out today here at the jail.
What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all from Scott County, Tennessee. Yes, it is a small county here in East Tennessee. It's a bit more on the northern end of the state. And anyway, today, you guys, the reason why we are out here is, well, today, I just have to say it, I'm going to jail again. But all jokes aside, yes, this is the historic Scott County Jail. It was established in 1904, and my friend Miranda Young, who runs Ghost Biker Explorations, her and her friend, they run this particular business. They do both ghost tours, and they also have the historical side of the museum. And anyway, this jail is really cool. It's got a lot of interesting history in it. They also do investigations. I will say, this building is pretty haunted. In fact, I think it is. Has been on a couple of lists here in the state of Tennessee. I am super excited. My friend Miranda, I asked her permission to film inside the jail. Now, I can't film all of it. She and her partner, they've been burned a couple of times by letting vloggers in here. But anyway, they've let me in on the stipulation that I don't film all of it, which I totally agree in that. Nothing wrong with that. there has been a music video or two filmed here at the jail. I forgot exactly which song it was. Here, I'll put the name of the song here in the video. This is their prison yard, and this is where they filmed the music video. It's cool to see, just seeing like a small town jail. You know, it's rather, you know, it fits the scenery. I mean, I will say for a 1904 jail, this place is cool. Gotta think, just think about the men that were sitting out here in the yard here in this small town. But anyway, let's go inside. Let's check out the jail, shall we?
This, they did have a jail that's set on this property right here, but it was, it wasn't until 1900 when they had the coal and timber boom that came into the area. We had a huge influx of people that came in. And so at that time they decided they wanted to show they meant law and order. So they built this jail here in the sandstone castle-shaped structure just to show they meant law and order. And so that was in 1904 when they built that. And this jail has been in operation from 1904 until 2008.
And you were saying this was the third one?
This was the third one, yeah.
That's really cool.
So originally it was 2 stories, held 30 inmates to 1 jailer. 1922 there was a fire and it caused damage to the 2nd floor. So they repaired the 2nd floor, added the 3rd floor, brought it up to 50 inmates to 1 jailer. So this is locally mined sandstone. And these blocks are 3 by 4 by 5 feet each thick. So
really?
They're very, very thick, thick bricks. We got a lot of different stories here at the jail. Everything from our earliest inmates who were moonshiners and ridge runners to unsolved murders of a sheriff. We've had at least 6 lynchings that have taken place here. Lynch mobs would bust into the jail and take inmates out and lynch them on different parts of the property. These were not race lynchings or anything of that nature. These were lynchings that were basically someone committed a crime, justice didn't move swift enough, so somebody else got a posse together, masked up, about 25 to 50 men, came in and overtook the jailer and whoever was on duty, got their inmate and took them out and lynched them. So we did have a sheriff that was killed right here at the front door. Most of what is in here is original, but the jail did change a lot depending on who was in charge at that time. So some of the rooms and some of the structures have changed. So, but yeah, this murder of the sheriff took place in 1925 right here at the front door. It was the murder of Sheriff Richard R.D. Ellis, and he ran under the stance he was going to abolish moonshine, which that was a bad idea here in this community because we had a lot of moonshiners, and so he did get a target put on his back, and so there in August of 1925 somebody came up and shot him from behind when he was bringing in an inmate. So,
and they never found out who shot?
Never found out. That's still one of there've been some deathbed confessionals and some people who have said they thought who it could be, but the inmate that he was bringing in, he basically got in the fetal position and was yelling the sheriff's been shot, and so he was not involved with it. But there were some names, but nobody was ever arrested or found guilty of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, those are the original bars that that the sheriff was unlocking whenever he was killed that night. So I'm gonna actually lock this door.
Scott County Jail, Huntsville, Tennessee, remodeled 1976. And here we go. Scott County Jail. Alrighty, you guys, we're gonna wander around a little bit. Currently, Miranda is giving us a tour of the jail. I have broken off for a little bit to check out some of these artifacts and to look at some of the fascinating history that is here, not only in Scott County, in the jail, but this entire area is just so fascinating. Like, for example, here is a timeline of what Scott County Jail and the rest of Scott County has seen. Scott County was originally established in 1849 and named after General Winifred Scott. And in 1861, during the Civil War, Scott County was against the secession of Tennessee from the Union. So what they did is they went up to the courthouse, which isn't too far away from here, and they pretty much they created their own sovereign state. And it was that way up until the 1980s. And around that time, there was a festival, or a ceremony, I should say, that Lamar Alexander, they welcomed Scott County, in quotations, back to the United States of America. And another interesting thing about this particular jail, well, really not so much the jail, but Scott County, is that Jesse James and his brother were down here at one time. And I believe, from what I understand, they were here for about 8 years. They conducted business, in the sense of official business, not for what they were known for, their infamy. But anyway, in 1904, Scott County, the jail was built. This was the third jail in the entire county. And you have like all the different types of men who went and worked at this particular jail, which that's all in the tan color. And anyway, looks like they even have a Civil War uniform, a Confederate one.
10 to 15 that we're currently working on. But when we got the building, it was just an empty shell of a building. So everything that's in here in our museum are items that have either been put on loan or donated to us. The community was really good about stepping up and putting items on loan to us, and they it's just myself and my business partner. We try to really tell the story of Scott County from when Scott County was established up until we opened the museum in September of 2021.
Now, is this one of the, so I guess what room would this be in particular?
So all these different rooms had different purposes. This room starting out, so the entire downstairs level was the jailer's quarters. And there was a law that was passed in the late 1800s that people, if you were the sheriff or the jailer, you had to live within so many feet of the jail itself. That's why a lot of the times some of these old jails in the community actually have jailers' houses or have jailers living on site. In this case here, our jailer or sheriff lived on the entire downstairs level. So this room itself would have been where the jailer's family, the kids, would have slept. So we had whole families, some that had 7 kids, some that had 12 kids, that slept here in the jail on this downstairs level.
And here in this display case, they also have some shanks and other different materials. These came from a private collection, one from Brushy Mountain and some that were from here. But you can see how they made some pretty nasty weapons to keep themselves safe. And of course, in the early days of the jail, most of the prisoners that you saw here were moonshiners, ridge runners, And so I can see why they have a display box of the moonshine distilleries and stuff. Here we've got Arzo Carson, which, by the way, he is the longest serving TBI director, and he lived to be about 100 years old. I mean, even aside from his storied career, that's living to be 100 is something that not many people can do or say. Oh my God, those. So are these the original keys? Like, God, those things are big.
They are. Those are what you have to use today to get into the cells.
And now, did they use these up until the day it closed?
Mm-hmm.
That is fascinating.
And if you look in here, so these keys, so if you look here, they've all got notches cut into the keys.
Yeah.
And so they've got everything that's a cell has got a notch cut into it. And so those notches correspond with the keys. And so they were able to wear the keys on their belt and not have to take their eye off their inmate. They could feel their key and they knew, you know, which door went. The doors down here are the higher numbered keys. The ones up in maximum security are the lower numbered keys. So anything that was a cell had a key associated with it and had a notching system into it. So
That is cool.
there's some of the notches.
Imagine, you guys, imagine that's how they used to do it. And looks like we're finally going behind bars. My freedoms are getting taken away from me. At least I'd like to think so anyway. But anyway, you guys, real quick, before we go further, since this particular jail is it's also a one for ghost tours and ghost investigations, paranormal investigations. Miranda was telling me that they have experimented by writing numbers on the board, and they would have the spirits say the number, or they would write knock, and they would get a few knocks. And there is one particular story that Miranda has told me about that I find very fascinating, is while they were here, they got a hum, and as she was asking her business partner, Chris, did they get that? Well, they didn't get the hum, but they did get 2 EVPs, one saying, "That's her, that's her," and the other one being not so loud next time. But anyway, this is or was where the kitchen area was at the time. They are working on it. They do have some medical equipment right here that came from Brushy Mountain. And this right here, this is the chair where quite a few sheriffs used to sit. And I believe from 1986 to 2022. Oh yeah, also this was where they did all the interrogations. All the fun stuff. This was the kitchen area. And this right here, this used to be the dumbwaiter system. And anyway, this is where they would make the food, and it would go up the next 3 flights of stairs, or next 3 floors. And this right here, this would have been the living room. Miranda was telling me a little bit about this, but standing from right here, there were a group of women which were believed to be the jailer's daughters, which I think is pretty fascinating. And up here on the wall, behind this display glass, this is for all the prisoners, all the sheriffs, all the police deputies that would come through, and people would know they were here. You can kind of see the different numbers on what it would have been. You have your work release, you can kind of see that right there. Your trustees, and not least we forget the drunk tank. State cell number 3, the administrative sergeant, when you have all these different names, you could pull it in, you can pull these things out or pull them in on if they were here or not.
It's interesting to think about just how this building was, that it, was such a community fixture. You had people who either served time as sheriffs, served as the jailer, the cook, or you had people who served time in here as one of the inmates. And so we get stories all the time of people who would come and spend time with their friends that grew up here in the jail. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were saying this was the living room back when it was still living quarters?
Yeah. So from our understanding, there was no back doors, so they had to actually bring the inmates through the front of the house.
And in the jail's later years, this is where they did all the booking. In fact, you can kind of see where you could stand in a line and get your photo taken and be admitted to the jail. And it looks like they have a wall where you can place a pin to show where you came from or where you're visiting from. But yeah, this is the visitor stall. This is where the prisoner could meet with his lawyers or his family or what have you. And this is where they would sit. This is the free side. And the other side is where the prisoner would sit. And a fascinating thing about this board right here, when Miranda and her business partner Chris, when they got this building from the city and when they were renovating it, this wall right here, all these different posters, or all these different missing child's posters, or people like this right here, these were all, this is all original. This was here when the jail closed. I just think that's so fascinating, because you can see what people saw or what people were looking at in 2008 when it closed. And now let's go over to the other side. This originally was the drunk tank. In fact, here is a restroom. That is actually still a usable restroom. And no, it is not a women's restroom. From what Miranda was telling me, there is a reason why they painted drunk tanks pink. You see, like how red and yellow symbolize hunger and wanting to eat, or green, like as in a hospital, as a form of healing. Pink was supposed to be calming. So when they would put people in the drunk tank, it was supposed to calm them, which is very interesting. And here is this is a display case of the last county deputy that was slain here. In fact, there was even an article done on him in GQ way back when. But this is his uniform, and this is for his memory, to keep his memory alive. And right over here in the other room, where you wouldn't want to be, this is where the prisoners would go to talk to said lawyers or family members. And this is where it would all take place. And look, they even have the uniforms. Kind of makes me think about the St. Augustine jail, where you can buy like garb like this for like $100.
A set of handcuffs to use as trigger items, and then we asked them to sign them. And so these are all the paranormal investigators that have spent the night here at the jail.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
As I was wondering, I mean, we were walking in here, I'm like, is there any particular reason why they have so many handcuffs? Do they, well, oh wait, okay, never mind, let me, 1 second. Oh yeah, and if you all are curious, that music video that I mentioned on the outside, this tells a little bit more about it. In 2022, Providence local group, a division of Sony Music, requested use of the jail in order to film a video featuring the music of Ben Fuller, a top Christian music artist. A crew of approximately 20 people were on site 2 days filming for Ben's song, Chasing Rebels. If you would like to watch this video, please visit benfullerofficial.com. But right over there, this is an autographed uniform. And this right here, this is the, well, originally when the jail started out, this was the maximum security side of the jail. This is where your hardened criminals would be up until the second floor burned and they built the third floor. And as that happened, this became the floor that the prisoners of least concern stayed. And as I was saying downstairs, that used to be the original kitchen, but when that got converted over, this became the kitchen. And that dumbbell that we saw downstairs, where it started, this is where it continued. And obviously, you can see where they boarded it up because you wouldn't want anybody to get hurt or do anything stupid. Look, they got lodge stuff. I believe that's Miranda's. Actually, I know it's Miranda's because she mentioned it. There's the prison yard. It's pretty darn cool. I like this place. And by the way, here are some pictures of what the jail looked like before Miranda and Christy got a hold of it. You can see that with just in the short amount of time, I think it was like 10 years that it was closed, you can already see that the paint was peeling and it was starting to look worse for wear. And I believe this right here, this is the door that it is now. And well, you can obviously tell that it has since then been painted. Oh yes, and this is a very fascinating piece of cryptid history here in the Scott County area. And it is this display right here. This is the Helen Wood Devil. And this, well, for the most part, people would probably say it's a gaff. But the thing stood about 7-8 feet tall, and it weighed about 400 pounds. And now currently, people do not know where it's at, but some people may have actually found where it might be, but it was unearthed about 2 miles away here in Scott County. Cliff Dweller or Devil. Now these cells on the second floor, they do look very similar, but each of them have a very special exhibit in them. And that's why I won't film all of them, just because I want to leave that for the people who want to check out this museum and all the stuff that is here, or even take a ghost tour, or even do a paranormal investigation of the building. But this right here, this is where your criminals of lesser sentences would be. Which, you know, the beds are very similar to what you'd probably see at Brushy Mountain. I wonder if they had any covering, any type of mattresses or anything like that, or if it was just you lay on that. Don't really know. Let's go up to the third floor. This is where all the maximum security prisoners would be. You can already tell. You can tell it was meant for the people that you wouldn't want getting out. That's for sure. And by the way, the jail does have a really awesome escape room here on the property. I'm not going to film that, but if you want to check it out or try it, make sure to check out the museum. I'll put the link to the museum's website here in the description box below. It looks pretty fun. Miranda showed me a little bit of it, and I will say, maybe one of these days here soon, I'll have to try it. But just check out how these bars were set up. I mean, if you look at them, you can see they're not all the way circular. And the reason for that is prisoners could not cut through these. Like if they were to try a guitar string or anything like that, the moment that they would try to cut all the way through, these would cause the wire or what have you would just spin around and around, and you would not be able to get out any further. So now, let's check out the prison cell itself. This is really cool. Back when the dumbwaiter system was still operating, this is where their food would come up, and this is where they would get it. And they also had a phone, like they could call family or friends. From what Miranda was telling me, they would get only an hour of freedom. If they were on good behavior, 2 hours, and that could be in the rec yard or talking to family. But this is where they would sit. And well, this is where they would take a shower too. Again, check out how big these iron doors are. You knew you were not getting out once that door shut. But I don't think I'd like that. That would be pretty darn scary. And by the way, here are the notches up here in this cell. As you all saw downstairs, the keys, which were the original keys, they would have individual notches. And why that was is when a sheriff or a police officer would come up here or to get said prisoner, they could look the prisoner in the eye to make sure that they wouldn't do anything crazy. And they could count these and the notches and the keys. Pretty fascinating. Very interesting to see how all of that was done and how an old jail operated. In the very early days of the jail, there were a few lynchings, and these are some of the articles from that time. Wanted for murder, $600. You got to think in today's value, that's quite a chunk of money. Also, here's a photo of what it looked way back when, before they renovated the museum. Alrighty, you guys, and since we are here, we are going to go up to the courthouse, which is right down the road from here, and we are going to check out the historical marker that talks about how Scott County seceded from the state of Tennessee during the Civil War. Again, that is something that I just found out about today, and it's got me interested. So anyway, we're going to go outside and we're going to check that out. The historic Scott County Jail is amazing. I recommend everyone, or at least if you're from the East Tennessee area, come check it out. It is really, really awesome. But before we end this vlog, I thought I would share this historical marker with you guys. And I'm still surprised that I did not know this up until Miranda told me. The independent state of Scott. United States Senator Andrew Johnson delivered a speech at the courthouse at Huntsville on June 4th, 1861 against separation. At the election 4 days later, Scott County voted against separation by the largest percentage margin of any county in Tennessee. Later that year, in defiance of the state's action of secession, the county court by the resolution ceded from the state and formed a free and independent state of Scott. And it went that way off the books up until about the 1980s. So up until about the 1980s, Scott County was its own state. Well, I mean, of course, it hasn't been that way for a very long time, but just think. Where we're standing right now, we are standing in what was once Scott. Pretty awesome, if you ask me. And anyway, guys, that's going to be another vlog for another day. I really enjoyed this. I'm finishing up the month of September. This October is going to be a very awesome haunt season. I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, guys, remember, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Always means a lot. Goes to show that y'all care. Now y'all want to see more awesome videos. So without further ado, guys, this vlog is over.